Hello and welcome to this installation of a Konnected version 2. So here I am, ready to install it, so you can see the process I have to go through to get it working. So let's get on with it.
Now the first thing you need to do is you need to remove power from your alarm because there is mains voltage inside of this. Now when you do that, you should still see some lights typically because there should be a battery backup in here. So I've actually already disconnected the mains on here, put the battery in. For the sake of showing you this, I've disconnected the sounder as well, because the way this alarm had turned out to be, it was kicking off the sounder when I didn't want it to. Now when you take the power off, you should see some difference here. Normally it'd be, I mean, it'll depend on your particular model, but you'd expect a solid light, and here it's flashing. So it's saying, yeah, I've got power, but I'm on the battery. So what you need to be sure is it's on the battery. So turn each fuse off. If you're unsure, just turn your entire fuse box off, and then you can progress. Right, I'm just going to grab a screwdriver. So in this case, it's just a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to take these out. What I've done in this case is I've already removed the live wire from here, and I've actually removed it entirely out of the wall. So what you want to do is you want to trace back your wires. What will normally happen wherever this wall where it's been installed, they would have drilled behind, and hopefully you can find your wires behind there. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take the battery power off as well, so that this thing has no juice at all. There we go. So there we are. That's the bare panel. Now I've already disconnected a few things here just because mine was misbehaving. So what you had coming through here was that's the actual going out to the sounder out. Actually, that's the sounder outside. So this one's the sounder. I put some black tape around it once. I traced the wires back and I tugged them from the back, so I knew which was which. So that's the sounder. This was the keypad. Because you go into a smart alarm, you don't need a keypad at all, so you can just disconnect that. You take it off your wall, get rid of it. These two last wires that are connected are the PIRs. So what you typically get is you get power cables with like red being the plus, black the minus, and then you get like these data cables which actually trigger the sense of whether it's on or off, which tend to be like blue and yellow. That might vary from different brands of sensors, but certainly in my case that's the colouring that they've gone with. So I'm going to take the panel off here. So really what you're doing with the Konnected is you're getting rid of this and replacing it with a connected board. So you're just getting rid of this large board, placing it with a smaller one. It's got its own sounder here, but I don't know if I'm actually going to bother reusing that, so I'm going to slide it out for now if I can. There we go. So it's out of the way. Excuse me, I've got a squeaky floor. That's more than about other, obviously, anti-burglar devices. A squeaky floor. Don't need an alarm when you get one of them. This is the 12 volt that comes with it. I've already pushed it through ready. What I did do actually with that, because you've got your existing wires coming through, you don't want to drill through a hole that's already got wires in because you're going to damage them. So I just drilled a new hole. Hopefully with your box as well, you'll have, you know, more than one point where you can drill through to connect. So that's what I've done there. So all I'm going to do now is get a flathead screwdriver, and we can then take off the PIRs and so on. What I'm going to do as well is I'm going to remove that power supply because we don't need it. So it's just unnecessary part of the alarm that's in there. Obviously you don't have to use your existing case as we're doing here for the panel. You could put this in, you know, in any kind of plastic box. You know, you could put it in your loft or whatever, but obviously you've got the problem of rerouting wires. So for the sake of this demonstration, we'll just put it in place. Although I am tempting myself later on to just relocate this somewhere totally out of sight, because there's no need for it to be visible once it's a smart device. It can be anywhere in your house. So there we go, board completely disconnected. So I think this just slides off actually. Come on, yep, there we go. Now, what they do with the Konnected is they provide adhesive feet, so we can put these onto the casing to hold the Konnected in place. So basically I'm just going to do this out of shot because it's easier for me while I'm doing it. So you'll just have to bear with me while basically I'm just going to push each one of these through like that. So it'd be right if you had a dedicated cameraman here doing it for me, but I've just got this. In fact, it's my mobile phone on a tripod for the sake of this video today. So I'm between cameras. Right, so there we go. Got those pads ready. You just take the protector off the back there, and then it's adhesive. So before we do that, we'll have a think. You know, could go down here, could go up here. I'm more inclined to have it up top because the other one was up top. I just have to think about whether I can clear the wires out of the way, but that looks probably around there to me. Looks reasonably sensible. Can I get it a bit higher maybe? Yeah, maybe there. That's got the most clearance getting wires in. Right, I've managed to get the wiring prepared for us to continue on with the tutorial for this installation. What I've actually done is just print out a little label so I know what I'm dealing with. So we've got the siren and the two PIRs, and as we mentioned, keypad we're not going to use. Now I went back to one of the PIRs to have a look just to be sure that the wiring convention that's been used here, because there isn't a sort of universal, this is what a colour does for an alarm, so it can be down to the individual installer for which colours they pick. But we've got the voltage that powers the devices, the plus being the red, black being the minus. You've then got these additional pair of cables which are used for triggering the device, like the PIR. And I noticed on this that the yellow was the ground, and the blue would have been what actually triggers, you know, like kind of the positive trigger on that device. So basically that paired together does the triggering when you walk past the PIR. So we're going to take that approach. We've got two terminal blocks. This first one is what powers the sounder and all the devices. We've then got zone 1 and then a ground. Zone 2, which shares the same ground. We've then got 3 ground, 4, and you obviously share the same ground. 5 for the ground, and then 6, which shares that ground. So that's how you get your 6 devices put onto this. You can connect these devices. I think you use this terminal to connect more than one of these together. So if you want to do 12 zones or more, but here we're just dealing with the 6. So let's get on with the wiring. Now, just before I do that, I want to talk about the siren. And the siren is the one that's going to give you a headache here in the UK. In the US, they just tend to have the positive and minus, so it's just 2 wires. Over here, you can have 4 or 6. This one's got 4, so I think the idea was it was doing a siren and a strobe. Now, for whatever reason, the strobe won't work for me. It could be I'm doing something wrong here with the wiring, but it could be that we've had a lot of storms and the alarm box was getting just full with water, so I don't know whether that's actually damaged the strobe. But either way, it won't seem to strobe for me, but the bell works. That's all I need, because I've got smart lighting, so I can strobe with that, and I can do it all around the house and so on, so it'll be more prominent than a strobe anyway. So that's not a worry for me, but just keep that in mind. Your best bet would be, if you can get up to your box and ladder, see how it's wired up. If you can't, just try a bit of trial and error. You'll soon find out which is when you actually trigger the siren, whether it's working or not. I'll talk a bit about that as we wire it up, but we're going to continue on by starting with PIRs. So I've got a front PIR here, so that's this wire. So that's basically my zone. I'm going to call my zone 1. In a conventional alarm, you could actually put, I believe, these PIRs together. So you get 2 PIRs together as one zone, but we don't really want to do that with the smart alarm, because you want the granularity of knowing which device is being triggered, because you can do much more than it just being an alarm. So what I'm going to do with this front PIR, it's not only going to be able to trigger my alarm, but it's going to be used now as part of my smart home, that it will trigger a light, so that when you're walking past the front PIR, it's actually going to turn on one of my smart lights. So just makes life a lot simpler then. Don't have to bother having a light switch, so that's extremely lazy and fantastic. So here we're putting in the grounds. Let's make sure I get this right. These are a little bit fiddly sometimes. You think you've got them in, and then you tug it and it comes away. So do always check they're in right. So this is zone 2, which is going to be my side PIR. Put that in again. If I wanted to, once this is done, I could make it trigger other devices. Obviously, with these as well, you can get like a little buzzer in here so that it buzzes as somebody walks past them. So you've got like a little notification as well. So there we go. So that's essentially the wiring done the zones. We then want to put in the negatives and positives. So we've got the auxiliary here, the negatives on that, and putting these in. I put a blue from the siren in there as well, because I think with the combination I've been trying, I think that's the right place for this. I'm 100%, but basically it works as I want it to work with it here, so that's what we're doing. Then we've got our positives, the red ones. That's all nice and straightforward. I'm going to put that straight into the middle one. Yep, a minute. Is that in? Just double checking there if that's in. It just feels a little bit loose, this one. I'm going to redo this one. Like I said, do a little bit fiddly. I don't want to leave anything loose so that it can come away. I think, yeah, I like to wire these wires round each other and then push them in. I think someone there just wasn't quite on. So yeah, don't be afraid to just double check your wire and pull it out, put it back in right. Yep, there we go. And then finally, this is the alarm. Now with this one, I mean, to be honest, it'll work with just the black anyway, but I'm putting in the black and the yellow. I was hoping with this to get, as I said, to get the strobe going, but it doesn't seem to work. But as long as I can get the bell, I am a happy man. What you will generally want to do is you want to use an uninterruptible power supply. So you've got this, so you can just press on the light and it's ready to go. You can then put in your 12 volt power, squeeze it into your box, however it fits best for you. And then you put this into the connected. So that way, even if the mains power is disconnected, this will continue to power the alarm for the uninterruptible power supply. Now, just a quick chat on the Konnected itself. I don't really want to go fully into the software here, but I'll just give you just a quick rundown. The Konnected creates its own Wi-Fi hotspot, so you can connect to that with a browser, ideally on your mobile phone, so your Android or your Apple device. You then provide it with your network SSID, so basically the name of your Wi-Fi network, and your password. The device will then reboot, connect onto your Wi-Fi, and then you can use the Konnected app, which again you can get for Android and Apple. That allows you to firmware flash a device. That's really straightforward, so there's no headaches doing a firmware flash, and it's quite quick as well. You can then configure the setup, so you can tell it what kind of devices you've got on each zone. And then there's the Konnected Cloud. That speaks direct to Samsung SmartThings, so you can integrate it with those devices, which is really handy. I use open source software, and I have a rules set up so that if you walk past a PIR and it's after sunset, it will then turn on the appropriate light, that kind of thing. So it gives you more flexibility than it just being an alarm. I may well go over that in more detail in a later tutorial. So I hope you found this useful. Cheers.